Dustin, the article. Oh! Are excited and ready for the second bout of RIZE.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to On the Rise. I'm your host, Mike Feinberg. With me, as always, my partner, David Shore. Changing it up a little. We shrunk our table. We're trying to make a new look here for the show. We'll see if we enjoy this better than we did last week. But, coming back to you again, back-to-back weeks, so we're happy to do that again. I know we had missed a couple of weeks in the past. Trying to make this a regular Tuesday night thing. As long as we have information and material to provide to you, we'll go ahead and do that. We did plan to have a guest with us tonight. It was going to be our lightweight champ, but unfortunately he had some scheduling conflicts and was unable to make it at the last minute. So we're going to go on and do everything just without him at this moment. But we do have some up-to-the-minute info to share with you. Of course, we always do. Just to repeat this one thing, we originally did have planned to put the show on February 20th. At this time, it looks like we're going to push that back till March 20th. We have some permitting issues and some conflicts, so just to save face and not have to drag it out and give you a couple extra extended dates, we're just going to go ahead and call it March 20th at this point. It will be somewhere here in Palm Beach County, most likely an outside venue. Can't tell you it's going to be the Bamboo Room or someplace else. Once we know that, we will let you know. Beyond that, RIZE is going to have a few events this year. We had mentioned to you last week that not only we're going to have our regional MMA tournament, but we're also going to add an international team MMA tournament. Along with that, we've added some team captains. A new captain has just been added to Team Canada. The gentleman's name is Brad Da Silva. And I know David's got a little information on Brad. He wants to share with us to let you know who he is.
Yeah, I spoke to him a couple days ago. He's part of Ringside Management out of Ontario. He said he has a lot of good fighters, working with a lot of pros, and he has a good amateur lineup. And he seems pretty confident that his team's is going to do well. He mentioned that Canada is actually shut down currently for having fights and all that. So he's coming down south and he's going to try to take over here. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, no doubt that I'm sure it would be. There's a lot of places out there that still have some issues with limitations and not being able to fight. So if we can get these guys internationally, it's really a good time to go ahead and start doing that. So as it were with Team International, we're planning on probably starting that closer to May. At this point, we were looking for an April date, but because we're pushing our February back to March, we'll probably push our April back to May and start the international Team MMA tournament in April, or May rather, and then later on in the year potentially have another regional tournament so we can get some of the local guys, some notability for these guys, see if some of these guys can defend their belts.
Right.
As we mentioned, Justin Starks is actually planned to be on our next card. We were going to talk to him about that this evening, just having him come out and talk about what's going to be, what it's going to be like to defend the first belt ever from RIZE.
For sure.
But we'll see if we can get him on next week. We'll discuss that a little further. Beyond that, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the fight card that is coming up on March 20th. But just before we do that, we are going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to show a little bit more about our promo of our company. If you haven't downloaded the app, here's some information on that app for you. And we'll be right back.
Dustin, the article. Oh! Are excited and ready for the second bout of RIZE.
All right, and we are back. Thank you. Hopefully you took a quick look at that promo. Got to know a little bit more about our company and that app. If you have not downloaded it, please do so. That is going to be a key in order to see all these events that we're going to be sharing with you this year in 2021. We are planning to have as many as 8 events this year, more likely about 6, depending on the restrictions. And all those things could be accessible to you via the app, Apple TV, Roku, And of course, these shows are coming to you live here through Facebook Live and YouTube Live.
You gotta stay optimistic, you know. Shoot for 10 and we'll hit 8.
That's true. Well, I hate to say 10, and then we do 6, and they're like, "Well, what are these guys talking about?"
Let's just keep it at 8. You know, once the ball starts rolling, I'm ready to have some fights. So I'm excited.
That's it. Yeah.
There's been a bunch of people reaching out to me saying, "Hey, they're ready to fight." I get messages all the time. A lot of people are really interested in becoming on our card. I know that the RIZE application if you go on our app, you can actually reach out and say if you want to fight, put your record in, and we'll put you in the bunch. And there's going to be a lot of matchups. So there's a lot of guys ready to fight. So I mean, I honestly think we can pull out 8 to 10 with as many people as actually reach out to us. So it should be a good year for sure.
Yeah, there's no question. You have no shortage of fighters that are willing
right.
To come on, especially with the Team MMA concept. Everybody seems to want to get involved, whether it be international or regional. Again, it's just about the restrictions and being able to secure those locations. So we cross our fingers and hope. If it wasn't for the restrictions, like you said, David, we'd be willing to have 10, even 12 fights this year, 1 a month. Why not?
Exactly.
That was originally the plan last year when this whole thing began, and of course, COVID kind of changed that all for us. But we'll see. They're going out. A lot of vaccines are being provided right now. We'll see if they catch up to it, and maybe.
You sneak in there?
I have not snuck in there. I will not be first in line for a vaccine, but that's personal choice. But all that having been said,
you don't want that third arm showing up?
I don't want that third arm showing up, As much as I am trying to avoid the virus itself, I really don't want the vaccine to be providing me the virus to see what kind of side effects I can pick up along with that vaccine.
Right in the middle, huh?
Right in the middle, man. The guy who tries to avoid the vaccine at all costs with the mask is the same guy who does not want to get the vaccine. But, we'll see. We'll give it some time.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to business. So let's talk a little bit about our March 20th card. I've got some names. I'm just going to ramble them off again so that the names can be spoken and people can hear them. And then we'll kind of go into the fights just a little bit. So we are going to feature Felipe Valentim against Alexis Fernandez for the bantamweight title. It'll be the first RIZE bantamweight belt. We couldn't give that one away last year, again, with all the conflicts and everything that went on with the restrictions. So that will cut into this year, bantamweight title to be given out at 135. The return of John Lopez, big for nothing. He'll be fighting. I know we have an opponent set up for him. We just aren't able to announce him just yet. Maybe by next week or the following, we'll let you know just who that is. And that will be for the heavyweight title, the first RIZE heavyweight belt. So John Lopez being 2-0 here with RIZE, we're looking forward to seeing what he can do in fight number 3. Al Derglo and Cameron Lueck are going to be fighting at lightweight, no belt on the line, but we want to see what these guys can do. Matthew Cunningham against an opponent to be determined at bantamweight. Ladrion Fletcher at featherweight 145 against a to-be-determined opponent. Justin Starks, as we mentioned earlier in the show, will be defending his lightweight belt. He will be the first fighter to defend a belt here from RIZE. We don't have his opponent's name here just yet. That'll come up in the next week or two. LJ Wilson will be coming back. He was on our last card. He's a great prospect at lightweight. We'll see what he can do. Lucas Rosa, which is, of course, Charles Rosa's little brother. He's coming back, and he's going to be fighting, making his debut with us at featherweight 145. Curious to see how those wrestling skills come into the MMA cage.
I was actually looking him up on his social media. I guess he went and trained somewhere. He's been on like a big camp, so he's going to be have a lot of skills, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of awards and accolades from his amateur days, of course, even before he gets into this. So we'll just see what he can bring to the table, and we're expecting a lot from him. So the pressure's on.
Right.
He's got to carry that Rosa name proudly.
I know.
Right?
When your brother's already in the UFC, it's big shoes to fill. So.
And we also have Jeremy Arnold, who's going to be making his debut with us as well. He's going to be at heavyweight, so we'll see who he's going to be fighting and how far he can go with RIZE. And then I skipped over him on purpose. So we've got our headlining undercard main bout, which is our super heavyweight fight with Trap Gambino. And Trap, of course, we've been talking about this guy for a little over a year. He's excited to be coming on and fighting with us. He's been waiting a long time to do so. We're curious to see what the skills are, what he brings to the table. And again, he's got a big following behind him. Love him or hate him, he's going to be on our card and he's going to be fighting, and hopefully he'll get a big fan base that night as well. So these are the fights, as we know them so far.
Plus he's a super heavyweight, which is always exciting.
A super heavyweight, which we don't have as many of right now, especially not in the area. So for him to fly in from Vegas to fight with us is really something for us. And again, you've got all these fights, maybe some more fights and some tweaks along the way. Between now and March 20th, we got a long road ahead of us.
I want to see who the Hawaiians get matched up with. Jason Bray, La Rosa. I saw La Rosa's doing a kickboxing match, so he's going to be sharpening his skills. And Jason Bray's always proactively becoming a better student of martial arts with catch wrestling and everything. So I'm excited to see these guys come back. They're definitely characters, and they're really excited to put Hawaii on the map with RIZE. So
right.
I want to see them return too. That'd be neat.
So it'd be nice, we'll probably match them up, like you said, put them on this card. So I know that's been a discussion. Hopefully we get that done. But I mean, as far as the fights that we know are matched up, or even the ones that are to be determined, who are you really watching out for here in this card coming up?
I like John Lopez. He's just a monster. Like I said, in a dark hallway, or a dark
parking
road,
lot.
Parking lot. He pops up when he's coming up over here for an interview, and you just gotta look twice. There's someone that big. You gotta make sure you don't have anything in your pockets, or all of a sudden just eclipsing me over a shadow. So he's a tank, and you really can't make that kind of stuff. He's born with it as far as size, and he has years of wrestling skills. So I honestly see him going far, amateur and pro. He's definitely, I'm excited to see him go for a belt and see what happens. So, and Felipe Valentin as well. This guy, when you talk to him, he has that cocky, confident mentality. When he speaks every time, you can just tell that he's fully secure with, his whole entire demeanor of martial arts. It's a lifestyle, and he actively practices it. And also, we got like George here from last time telling us how Valentin's always in the gym, killing it, participating, and being real aggressive and trying to make sure he's going to be a top contender. So I can't wait to see him compete. And the guy he's going against, I think he has over 10 fights, 12 fights or something like that. Alexis Relentless Fernandez. Right. So it's going to be a good test for him, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, those are great matchups, and again, we revert back to seeing Trap, just all the hype that's behind him. We want to see what he's capable of doing. Al Dergalo being able to come back. We mentioned last week. He got a real raw deal. When it came down to the fights in December, after waiting 9 months to try to fight with us. Right. Having to drop the weight and only to be able to be faced with somebody 15 pounds heavier than when he actually stepped back into the cage. So it was an unfair advantage. This time around, he will be fighting at lightweight, the weight that he lost. He was comfortable making the weight. He's going to fight somebody else at that same weight, so there won't be a weight advantage to his opponent and a size advantage either. So it'll be something to see.
LJ Wilson training with Rosa as well, with top trainers, and him and Son had probably the fight of the night, in my opinion, with just back and forth swinging and blood, and he was fully connecting. So I can't wait to see if he increases the gas tank and keeps it on all 3 rounds. So I feel like in the third he kind of slowed down. And if he would have kept the same pressure as the first, it would have been said and done. But somehow Greg's son pulled it around, and hopefully we can get him on the card maybe too. So that'd be super neat.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that definitely we would like to bring back. Just because they unfortunately didn't get the win that night, right, didn't mean anything, because there were a lot of close contests that night. I mean, we even had a draw to start the night. So there's a couple of guys right there that are available to maybe bring back in, as well as these guys who lost a very close split decision. So, the Perry brothers, for instance, are one. And with that being said, Justin Starks pulling off that very narrow victory over Idris Perry, it was a great fight. Yeah. And Starks now trying to defend that lightweight belt. Curious to see, the first fight he had a beautiful knockout. The second fight he showed his wrestling and grappling skills. We'll see if he can balance it out, see what he can show us in the third fight. Curious to see how that's going to go. And between that title fight and Lopez having his heavyweight title fight, Valentin having his bantamweight title fight, we got a lot in store for that fight card. There's no question about that.
I'm excited. I'm sad that we have to wait another month, truthfully. So.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the delay, it is.
I don't know what I'm going to do that weekend now. I all marked on my calendar. There was, no plans, and I don't know what I got to do. So.
Right.
Can't handle any more cancellations. Let's get this going.
Yeah, this is just, the next fight,
right, on
the card. This would be the first one of 2021 at this point. But again, all the other fight cards we're talking about with the regional team MMA, the international team MMA, we may even be able to sneak in 1 or 2 pro events in there somewhere. I know we got a couple of guys, AKA Jose Cortez, who is dying to get back in the cage for RIZE. and fight as well. So
I saw Jose on his Instagram profile talking about on his story talking about he wants to fight Jake Paul. He's trying to make that happen. I saw him tag Jake Paul 3 or 4 times today. So yeah, you never know though. I mean, he's entertaining and a character. So I could see him getting matched up accidentally.
Right.
Be a nice ticket for him.
It would be, it would be something to have him back there, and you're just trying to get back to just providing something for everyone.
Right.
And that's the idea with Team MMA, regionally and internationally, with these local fighters here, and then doing a pro card, a kickboxing card, an amateur card, championship belt card. I mean,
we need 8 fights at least, Mike. I told you.
We have to. We got too many things we want to do this year.
Right.
And like I said, it's something for everybody, and it's every level. You got guys making their amateur debuts to guys that'll be, hopefully we get those pro cards. We'll have guys that have, 10, 12, 15 fights professionally already, and maybe 20, 25, 30 fights in total. So you'll see everybody in every different level, and it's the kind of thing everybody wants to see. It's a good variety. That's why the app is important, of course. That's why people need to download the app so they don't miss any of those, because there will be just a whole bunch
and you
of
could
fight
reflect
cards
on the previous fights too. Like if you go back, you could check out all these guys like John Lopez that's going to be fighting for a belt, and other fighters like I said, LJ versus Son, and it's pretty neat going through the app and just locating anything you wanted to find.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, that really is catching you up here as far as our Team MMA concept and our fight card coming up here on March 20th. We may talk a little bit about it again a little later on, but we are going to talk about some other sporting events later in the show. Before we get to all that, we're going to take a quick break on the show. Just got a quick commercial for you from one of our sponsors, DV8. So go ahead and please enjoy this promo. We'll be right back.
This is Kerry from DV8 Motorsports. I want to welcome you to our world and give you a little insight into what we do. From the lift kits, lowering kits, custom wheels and tires, gas, diesel, performance, and accessories. We do it all here in-house. All of our services we offer, we install everything. Come follow us on social media, Facebook or Instagram, deviate_motorsports. Take a look at what we do, what we have to offer. We're located at 1018 North Federal Highway in Lake Park, US 1, just south of North Lake Boulevard, or you can give us a call, 561-840-2023, or shoot us an email, deviatemotorsports@yahoo.com. Thanks.
Hey everyone, we are back. Hopefully you enjoyed that quick promo from our sponsor, DV8. We'll be having a lot of these coming up over the next few shows. Some of the sponsors, as they start coming in, will start giving a little insight into their companies and what they provide to you. That being said, kind of jumping back, just that quick little review. Again, hopefully we have all these fight cards that we're discussing for this year 2021, and this is the time in the show where normally we would have our guests sitting here with us. As I mentioned, Justin Stark's not able to make it tonight, but we will try to get him on here the next week or two. So we're going to kind of jump ahead, have a quicker show, and we're going to go right into other sporting events at this point. So UFC, some things have happened here.
Yeah.
Something pretty big this past Saturday night.
I lost all my money bet on Conor McGregor, so that was interesting. He got TKO'd in the second round. He did pretty good in the first round. He was looking pretty sharp, but he didn't really acknowledge the leg kicks too much at first, and they started to add up. And I guess that's all it took. A couple leg kicks here and there. You could see his leg was pretty swelled up, and he got TKO'd by Dustin Poirier. They're both stand-up guys. Dustin's been on a tear. He's been killing. He took out Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje. The only person he really didn't beat is Khabib. So,
right.
It would be interesting. I think the next matchup for him would be Oliveira, the Cowboy. I can see that happening for sure. And Conor's just gonna have to go back on the horse, and I believe that he might fight like Nate Diaz or something like that.
Okay.
So, should be interesting. Also, there was Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker. Michael Chandler, I think, finished Dan Hooker in like a minute. It felt like it might have been under a minute. I'm not quite sure, but it was a really solid performance. He did like a Ric Flair, call out to Khabib and Conor and Dustin. Should be neat. I mean, I would say he should fight for the belt, but Dustin was saying he feels he needs to work his way up in the UFC company, so he should fight at least one more contender. That's why they're saying that possibly he should be matched with Justin Gaethje and just continue like a tournament style. But in my opinion, I think it should have been for the belt for Conor versus Dustin, because Dustin's never had the belt. He's had the interim belt. He keeps getting brought up and shot down. So I don't know. it's kind of wishy-washy with UFC. So I can't wait for some other fights that are coming up too on the UFC. We have Gilbert Burns. He's fighting Usman. They've trained together. They're both pretty equivalent with grappling, but I think Burns has a better grappling jiu-jitsu background. I think I actually been to one of Burns' classes one time, and I think it was at Combat Club. I think he was training there. These guys' training camps are really, really intense. They try their hardest. I think he's at I think he's 5 or 6 wins maybe right now. He's gone against the top competition. I honestly think that Gilbert Burns is going to upset Usman and beat him. Some other good fights are coming up. Is Jan Blachowicz is going against Adesanya. This is pretty exciting to me because Adesanya is already the 185 champion. He's moving up to 205, and he's committed to go fight a heavyweight and be a 3-champion UFC contender, which has never happened. No one's ever did the trifecta of all 3 divisions. So.
Right.
And it's a big jump for heavyweight. I mean, heavyweight's up to 265, so these are big guys. And he's really persistent about saying chasing John Jones to the top of the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the drama and I love the bickering, and I kind of feed into that. So I'm hoping that one day they actually get matched up before John Jones takes a loss or is out the UFC. So those are the things I'm looking forward to. But I know next week Overeem's going against Volkov. That should be great. Overeem says this is his last run at UFC championship. And so if he loses, that's it for him. Probably, I guarantee he'll retire on the spot.
Yeah.
And he's going against tough competition. Should be really good to watch. And the following week there's also Derek Lewis, who's hilarious, and he's going against Blades, which should be interesting to see if he can stop Blades from wrestling him and taking him down and all that. So a lot of drama with UFC. I'm super excited for.
Yeah, I know there's a lot to unpack with those guys because there has been a lot of activity. I've seen that as well, and just to reiterate that, congratulations to Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
It's like a monkey off his back all those years, just waiting to get that rematch that he knew. And I think I saw a quote with him saying something that that first time he fought him, he looked at him like he was just like a David and Goliath, like you like to refer to a lot, type of scenario. He just didn't know, like a deer in the headlights, what to do. This time around, he said, he's a man. He bleeds just like me. He's my level. And because he built that confidence with all these wins, the streak that he's had, all the things he's been doing, that's all he needed. He needed that boost of confidence, I think, to put himself in that situation and say, I can win this fight.
I just feel like that McGregor's just lost the drive as the hunger to become a champion, and Dustin hasn't tasted it yet. So he's still on the verge of trying to become a champion. And McGregor, I mean, he's adamantly training, but, and a lot of people say they don't believe in ring rust, but if you don't get kicked in the leg all the time, you forget how it really feels. Like if you're training with someone, you usually got pads on, you're not trying to get hurt. I mean, people have been fired for getting hurt on training. I've had friends actually been injured and had a fight, or, fought anyways, semi-recovered, and, it was a bad turnout. So, if you don't get kicked in the calves, like how many times he got kicked in the calf without shin pads, it hurts.
Yeah.
I've been kicked a few times. I didn't enjoy it anytime. So I think McGregor's going to learn from this, and he's probably going to take a more adamant, serious training, maybe possibly an actual fight without actual being sanctioned, and get some more time in. But the best thing I think for McGregor to do is just stay active and come back as soon as possible. If he wants to stay active in the UFC.
I think so as well. But again, with Dustin, congratulations to his whole team. I know he's got a pretty good set over here, and he runs all over. So Phil DeRue with his strength and conditioning, and Dia Davis, his striking coach for so many years, that obviously had a lot to do with the fact that he was able to just get those punches in there and do what he did on Saturday night. So, good for them, and good luck to everyone else that we just talked about with these great events that are coming up. And that kind of leads me into boxing. There's a couple of strange things that are going on, but cool things at the same time. And Alexander Usyk, who was the undisputed cruiserweight champ, who's now fighting at heavyweight, was trying to take on those big name guys, try to get himself in line for a heavyweight championship. And as you mentioned, it's like, becoming a unified champion and wanting to step up to the next weight class and becoming that guy. The only one I've ever known that was an undisputed cruiserweight that stepped up at heavyweight in boxing and won a belt was Evander Holyfield. He's the only man to ever do it. So Alexander Usyk, of course, trying to be that second guy to do so, and trying to do it in better fashion. We'll see if he can do that. But Usyk is now potentially in conversation with Joe Joyce, and another great prospect, big guy that's on the verge, of becoming something great in his young age. And if that fight does take place, you've got these two guys who are top contenders, and as long as they face off against each other, that paves the way for Fury and Joshua to fight each other without giving up their belts, because these guys would be the mandatories for each of them, or even more so for Joshua. If that's the case, he has to give up the belt to have the mega fight, and you can't unify. So now there's a possibility. As long as Usyk and Joyce come together, you can have Fury and Joshua and actually fight for all the marbles at heavyweight. As long as Wilder doesn't win his bid to be the next guy to fight, or they pay him a significant sum of money to step aside, which I think is probably the most logical thing to do. There's going to be so much money in that fight, you can pay the man to step aside. He'll probably gladly take $10, $12 million, just sit home and watch the fight. I would. But it may be more than that. That's just a number I threw out there. But
there's pride too, He wants to get back at Fury, so you never know.
It's true, but at this point, to take the money, to be able to sit there and just kind of not have to worry about the fight at this moment, and then wait for them to unify, and then be the guy to step in to try to take all the belts with one fight.
Right.
It's a different conversation, but they have to give him some assurity of what's really in store for him, and we'll see. I like to see Wilder back in the mix for sure. I do appreciate the way that guy fights. So anyway, that's with the heavyweights right now, and of course you mentioned it a little bit earlier. So Jake Paul, and I guess everybody's heard this in the news today. So Jake Paul and Ben Askren are going to be fighting in April potentially. And it's an oddball fight, but it actually kind of makes sense when you start thinking about it. I know we were talking about the crew earlier today. Jake Paul's never going to beat anybody who's at the high level of their career as a boxer. It's not going to happen. He's just not built that way. He hasn't had that experience, and he's not young where he can build himself to that point. But it's not to say that he couldn't potentially be a good fighter and beat some of the lower level to mid-range guys in boxing. But if he wants to get a big fight, because he's obviously looking for a big name where there's money involved, and not take on the smaller guys in boxing, he needs to take on some big names. Where's he going to find them? Well, why not go MMA? Why not look at UFC and find the guys that, they had a name for themselves, but they might not have been the guy. And it's probably a good place for him to start. He's kind of jumping up. It's a good place for him to start. If he can take out a Ben Askren, he should fight guys kind of along his level before he starts jumping in with the likes of like a Conor McGregor or Dustin Poirier or anybody like that. So, we'll see what he can do. That's supposed to be set for April. And
I watched his interview with Ben Askren today, and he was saying how he was second place on Jake Paul's list, that Dylan Denanis was supposed to be the first guy up, but he was scared of him. Okay. I know Ben Askren hates Dylan, and they were going back to roast it and going back and forth or whatever, so that drama's there. And he's like, this guy got scared and walked away. So it's pretty funny to hear that, because this guy, it's obviously Conor McGregor's best friend and training partner, and he's not the best at stand-up because he's a jiu-jitsu master. So it's it's just interesting to see these guys bicker back and forth of why he didn't show up and why Jake Paul was selecting him. Ben Askren also said that it's his biggest paydays he's ever accepted. So he doesn't consider it being as dangerous as fighting any MMA fighter, because he says he fought Robbie Lawler. He's fought a lot of professional guys in his career. So who's Jake Paul compared to Robbie Lawler and MMA that could be kicking you or elbowing you or punching you and all that? And he said he never took damage. But Ben Askren said also that he's wrestled every single fight that he's done. So his stand-up didn't look the best versus a couple people. So I'm interested to see it, but they're both kind of clowns, and it's going to be a good meme match and a good trash talking event. So should be good. But I know he just had hip surgery, and he said he's feeling better than ever in training already. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I was going to mention the same with Ben Askren. That's why Jake Paul's willing to take that chance. He knows Ben Askren doesn't have that superior boxing ability.
Right, because a lot of accolades in wrestling. So,
but Askren, why not? Why not take the chance? You're not going to break any bones in this fight.
Exactly.
It's not going to be any permanent damage for you. Just watch out for some of those headshots.
He said he considers it like a high school, after school boxing with his friends. Because Jake Paul's not a professional athlete, so he doesn't see him as a threat at all, regardless. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, a lot of trash talking already. It's only 1 day deep.
Right. And then, as far as Askren, I mean, look, you're getting paid a lot of money to probably fight somebody who's not as much of a threat as you mentioned as you have in the past. So that's kind of a no-brainer for Askren as well. So we'll see if that comes to fruition for sure in April. They're talking about it. And as far as the Paul brothers are concerned, you got Logan Paul there still hanging on to the chance of fighting Floyd Mayweather, which has been really dragging out now. Logan Paul is still all hyped about his February 20th date to fight Mayweather, but yet Mayweather is all crickets. Not one word come from his side at all about promoting this event. So the fact that we're already sitting here, towards the end of January, you have to assume they would have some kind of a promotional tour going on with these guys. I've seen nothing. So I know in the days of COVID that may be more difficult, but I'm not even seeing Zoom calls between the two of them. I'm not seeing anything, nothing. So at this point, we can all just kind of assume, chances are February 20th isn't going to happen, guys. That's going to be something that's delayed. I meant to actually contact a couple people to see if they have any insight as to what may be happening in that camp. If I get that information by next week, I'll share that with everybody. But, at this point, no reason to even talk about it. We're going to jump to something else. So a couple of events going on down here in South Florida, boxing-wise, this week. We got one on the 29th over at the Hard Rock in Hollywood. No fans allowed, but it is going to be streaming through pay-per-view. It's $19.99 to get it. It's a Don King promoted card. Remember the last time anybody ever said that? Wow. It's been a while. So the 89-year-old Don King is still promoting events, and he has a couple of. He's 89 years old, whoa. And he's promoting an event this coming Friday at the Hard Rock, just for closed media circuit type of deal.
Hope I'm still breathing at 89.
Exactly. But DonKingTV.com is where you can actually go to purchase the pay-per-view for $19.99. And who's on the card, and this is what keeps changing, and people kind of get questioning it. But you did have the former heavyweight champ of the world, Bermane Stiverne. He's on the card. But his dance partner there, Chris Lovejoy, has decided to back out of it, and he's now fighting another card on that same night down in Mexico. So Bermane Stiverne does not have a dance partner for the night. Trevor Bryan, he was supposed to be featured as the headliner that night. He's the interim WBA heavyweight champ of the world. He was supposed to be fighting Manuel Char, the legitimate WBA heavyweight champ of the world. So these two guys can just settle the score and figure out once and for all who's next in line for Anthony Joshua's belt. Well, Manuel Char, there's rumors of he can't get a visa. Who knows what the situation is. Trevor Bryan's offered half of his purse to give up just to get Char to come over and fight. So Trevor Bryan, we just spoke with him the other day, and he's made a comment that doesn't care who he's fighting. He just knows he's fighting. He's still scheduled to be there. He'll be there on Thursday for the weigh-in. He says whoever comes to weigh in across from him, that's who he'll be fighting the following night. So game time decision, I guess, is what they would say at this point in time, because we're at Tuesday night, right? Ready? So it's not much time to figure this out. So somebody within hey, if you're a heavyweight and you got a name for yourself, you got 48 hours to contact Don King and get over here to South Florida and fight Trevor Bryan for at least the interim WBA championship. So that's Friday. Saturday, down in Miami, MMA Promotions is going to be putting on a great event. And we went to the gym just last week. We were talking to a lot of the guys that are going to be out there. These guys truly are the future of boxing. You got guys pretty much every weight class you can find. Most of the fighters coming over, European fighters, a few of them, handful of them from Uzbekistan. And they're being trained by former heavyweight himself in Timur Ibragimov. Also training with Shannon Briggs, Jesse Robinson right there, a long-time famous trainer. These guys are coming over like Lomachenko's. They got 250, 300 amateur fights. They have Olympic experience. They've won world championships at amateur level. They're coming. A couple of guys are making their pro debuts. Another couple of guys have already got 8 to 10 fights under their belt, and they're waiting just a couple more fights before they get championship fights. So it's a good card to watch out for if you can find a way to check it out, because some of these guys you will see with belts above their heads within the next couple of years. So that is the world of boxing as I know it. So let's jump to NFL. Obviously, we had some playoff games this past weekend.
Yeah, poor G. He had to put away his Bills shirt, save it for another year. It's disappointing. No, I hate the Bills, and thank God they're out. And I'm really happy about the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to win some money if they win the Super Bowl, which hopefully they will. But I'm torn because a Florida team's in the Super Bowl as well. Tom Brady's a living legend. I saw this thing, I don't know if it's true or not, but Tom Brady is more likely to go to the Super Bowl than Steph Curry is going to make a three-point shot. There's a higher percentage. And which is baffling because Steph Curry is the best three-point shooter that's ever existed as far as my knowledge. So,
Right.
yeah, but we'll see. You know, I still kind of hate him from being on the Patriots, but, you know, I can stand him being in another Super Bowl, and it's going to be interesting because Tampa Bay is at home. It's never been done before. There's a big, it's going to be a big turnout. There's a lot of things going on in Tampa Bay for that time. I think there's bare knuckle boxing that same weekend.
That's right.
So it's going to be a huge event, you know, and I'm going to have to put my Chiefs hat on at this point, unfortunately. So
Right.
we'll see. We'll see how many bets I get going before that. But right now, I'm hoping the Chiefs pull it out. But it should be good. You know, Tampa's great. Mike Evans, Godwin, they got a lot of weapons. Fournette, they're really both great teams, and Chiefs are no slouches with you know, Tyreek Hill, and Kelsey's probably the best tight end that's ever played. As far as, you know, I think in my opinion he's better than Gronkowski, and almost anyone I would say equivalent to Kittle currently is the only one that might be able to match up with Kelsey as far as skill wise. But he's a big guy and he's hard to stop. And Mahomes is fast, you know. Hopefully he doesn't get hit as hard as he did the other game when he got a concussion. And you know, Andy Reid is a legend coach, and so is Bruce Arians. It's gonna be a great game, you know. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's really something. I mean, that's really what I have to say about that. I was surprised by what some of the success some of these teams actually had, and you know, I wouldn't call it an upset, but Tampa actually beating Green Bay, it wasn't really what people were expecting. They didn't think Tom Brady just carrying everything was just going to take them through as a number 5 seed in the wild card and coming through and actually making it to the Super Bowl. But it's Tom Brady, so you can never count him out. I guess that's the story and the lesson to be learned. But I know there was some controversy with Green Bay. I know that they had the opportunity to go for it on 4th down inside the red zone and decided to kick a field goal late in the game, you know, which put them down by 4. And rather than just, or maybe 4 or 5, rather than just going for the touchdown and tying that game up. So, you know, Rodgers has been criticized a lot for that. He said, it wasn't my decision. You know, I'm not the coach. I don't decide that. And then speculation is that he might retire, where, you know, he made a comment about it after the game and then kind of rescinded that comment, I think as early as this morning, stating that he goes, I have no reason to leave, so there's nothing telling me to go. So it's sort of an iffy type of thing. But that's like with just about every great quarterback out there right now. You're wondering, like, is Brady going to come back after this year? Is Roethlisberger coming back?
He follows Brady's lead and goes down to a Florida team and makes us great. You know?
Yeah.
We'll ship off Tua, and bam, we'll take a Rodgers, you know?
We'll see, man. Deshaun Watson is up for play right now, too. So he's somebody out there that, you know, he's going to get some.
G was saying he was going to come special guest and talk about, he wants to have a debate why we should keep Tua versus why we shouldn't. So maybe we'll make that as a segment next a couple weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
That way we will reflect on it the following year where we can say I was right. So
Exactly. We'll get it recorded for posterity, so we'll be able to play it back. But it is going to be an interesting game, and to watch, you know, a guy like Mahomes and a guy like Brady. I mean, I haven't heard this stat, but I have to imagine this is the biggest disparity in ages between starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. I have to assume it's true. There's about 20 years between these guys. Sure. So I think I actually saw a meme with this where it was like the old Yoda and the young Yoda.
Well.
You see that?
Yeah.
So interesting to see, you know, if the old guy still got it, or if the young buck can try to take the helm and
It's hard to count
start his run.
either of these guys out. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. I mean, I really don't know what to expect, but like I said, financially, I'm hoping for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and then you got to figure in, you know, not only, you know, it's a game to be played in Tampa, but Tampa, which is the first time, you know, a team has ever played in its own home stadium in the Super Bowl ever in the history of the Super Bowl era. So that's going to make Tampa a wild city that weekend. In addition to the fact that you mentioned earlier, Friday night, 2 nights before the Super Bowl, they have the bare knuckle championship fights going on over there just across town.
Right.
And I've been up there for a couple of the Tampa events for bare knuckle, and I got to tell you, it gets wild. It gets wild around there, and people are just out there doing everything.
And Paige is going to fight as well, I believe.
Right, Paige is fighting that night against Britton Hart, and you got Dat Wynn. He's going to be fighting Johnny Bedford for the championship at lightweight as well. So that's going to be a great matchup. They got a couple other pretty good matchups on that card. So it's going to be pretty exciting for anybody going out to the Tampa area to be able to watch that whole weekend. Just that wild, crazy stuff. I can't imagine what the bars and sports bars are going to look like, around that weekend. But everybody's going to be kind of off the hook.
Or it's like 8,000 a ticket. That's what my friend told me.
It must be at least then. They're giving a lot of healthcare workers free tickets to the Super Bowl. I think a lot of them in Tampa are going to be getting a lot, not only because they're there, but because the team itself has the ability to give out.
Can I sign up to be a healthcare worker?
Well, I don't know. I got a friend of mine that works at Tampa General, so I was thinking about just calling him. It's been a while. Say, buddy. So what you doing this weekend? He might have a spare ticket. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see how that weekend goes. I just hope that it doesn't turn into one of those car flipping, bonfire in the street type situations after the fact. And, COVID, of course, being a scenario, especially down in Florida, I can only imagine what the super spreader event will look like that weekend. But hey.
20% capacity. They're all right.
Oh, yeah. But I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about everybody in Tampa that's going to be out watching their home team at the Super Bowl at every bar within a 2-mile radius of that.
E-board and stuff like that.
Everything is just going to be jam-packed, people screaming in the streets. And people are going to be flying anyway, even if they can't get tickets to get in. They just want to see if they can catch a glimpse of the GOAT. Anybody that's up there.
Right.
They want to check it out. There's a lot of people, obviously, that may not be back again next year, so they want to take a look and see if they can't get the last little breath of, Tom Brady and Gronk and anybody else that might not be back again, too much longer. Anyway, that is football. I'm never talk about college football because there's nothing going on. Right. But, Combine will be coming up in February. Don't know how they're going to do that. And then, of course, the draft in April. But, hey, that's the world of sports. I think we recap pretty nicely with all the stuff we have going on with these events coming up. We look forward definitely to having you guys come out to our March 20th event. We will let you know exactly when the venue is. Again, check out that app. You can purchase tickets right through the app. It's not up. It's not live yet with the tickets yet until we actually know where the venue is going to be. But keep an eye on that. Make sure you download it. Keep it close. Other than that, David, I think it's a wrap.
Yeah. I think we went over everything pretty well, so I'm definitely okay. Now I'm super excited about football. I'm going to go home and watch some highlights and stuff as soon as I get out of here. So I'm excited.
And there you go. So on behalf of the entire RIZE team, everybody working in the background, my partner David Shore, I'm Mike Feinberg. Have a great night.